channel, Treetop Flight, where I'm documenting the build of my RANs S-21 plane. First of all, these are not instructional videos. I'm a first-time builder, and I'm just documenting what I did to build my plane. Might be of interest to other builders or the plane community. Your mileage may vary. In this section, we're going to talk about the fuselage and tailcone. Up to now, I've got 417 hours into the build. I think it's a pretty accurate recording of my time, and it does not include my research time, which in this section starts to get heavier and heavier as you get into avionics and wiring and some of the other intricacies of the fuselage. With that, let's wind the clock back a little bit and start laying out the assembly parts for the tailcone. Thanks for watching. Good morning, everybody. What you're looking at is my build table cleaned up from all the wing components. I have finished the wing section except for the tips, which I know is going to be some hours, but I'm going to do those later. So other than the tips, we're moving on to the next section, which is the fuselage section. And this is me turning the page of my manual to the new section. And you're probably wondering why this is such a big deal. For you new-time builders, what you're going to find is that the wings take a heck of a lot of time. So I'm going to do a more detailed analysis, but I think I'm somewhere around 400 hours, 450 into the build. So I've taken far longer than I thought to get to where I am, but I am extremely excited to get moving on to the next section, the fuselage section, and we'll figure out where we go from here. The first step is to work on the bulkheads. You lay out your bulkheads. Station 4 and 5 are the first two. You've got some doublers, you've got your bulkheads, and it's a matter of assembling them and put them together. There are a couple 3/4 inch holes that have to get drilled out using a step bit. These are for some rubber grommets that go in. They need to get drilled out from the doubler and then also on the bulkhead assemblies. As I attach this top doubler, I notice that the doubler is right up against this flange pretty tight, so it's going to not allow this flange to move at all, which has to be at a perfect 90. I'm going to file this down just a little bit to get it away, to get the doubler away from this flange, which has attachment points to the skin, and I think these flanges need to be a little more flexible than pushed up against here. Okay, a quick update. In this process, you just keep pulling out bulkheads and then bags of parts and put them together. You end up with kind of a pile of bulkheads. Some have just doublers on them and some have some fittings that go on them. But you just work one at a time. They're pretty straightforward. They don't even give you a lot of text instruction. They give you some pictures and just say put them together. So just an update. This is a good section to kind of do an update because I got to my first gotcha on the bulkheads. These bulkheads, stations 4, 5, 6, went together fairly easily. There's not much complexity to them. But when you get to station 8, you've got this diagram right in here. You've got this pulley system that hangs down for your rudders. And there's a blow up here, but it shows one pulley on there. And if you get down to this double asterisk, which is up there, you'll see that these washers are replaced by KPAC 0038, which ends up being a tang. And you're not sure where this tang is. Well, you have to go to your, and it says refer to your rudder system. So you come over here to your parts page, and it's 9B01 and 02. And here you've got your station 8. And here's your station 8 diagram. So this is your pulley 1. This is a second pulley you've got to add. And you've got to get your parts from your tail dragger parts kit, which is in a separate place of your boxes. And what you end up with is kind of a pulley system that looks like this. You've got this double pulley. This right here is the tang they talked about, and you replace the thick washer, and this tang goes up into the pulley, and everything is attached fairly loosely, so you've got some movement in your pulleys and in your attachment. Then you've got under here, you've got these bushings. Whoops, you've got these bushings under here. They give you a piece of a bushing that you have to cut up. I measured my distance and I ended up with 7 millimeters of extra distance. So I cut one bushing at 4 millimeters and the bushing on the bottom side at 3 millimeters. And so that 7 millimeter of bushing went in there and fit nicely. And the other little gotcha is this crown right here is not flush. So your nut does not go flush. Let me see if I get a good shot there. Your nut does not go flush up here. So you tighten it up, but you're leaving it just to where the nut comes in contact with the crown. And that gives it kind of locks it in, but it also gives this bracket the ability to swivel a little bit. So all of that was a little bit confusion. I did a fair amount of research, talked to some of the other builders on the forum, and kind of got this instruction to get through this. So this was a gotcha. This actually took a fair amount of research and some digging through boxes. This is the section Bulkhead 8, and there's another one that goes over here. This was just one side that I thought at this point I would update my video and kind of show you what you're looking for. This is for the tail dragger. Remember, this is for the tail wheel, tail dragger steering. If you're not building a tail dragger, you will not be doing this. I should have mentioned that in the beginning. The next step involves the bottom skin of the tail cone, and we'll start working on that and get you updated. The next step is to cleco and rivet the inspection ring doublers. I haven't riveted them yet. I'm laying everything out. And then you lay out your stringers down the middle and your longerons left and right down each side. Then from there I'm going to rivet, and then we've got to cut the stringers to length. And you have to be careful not to rivet over the center holes where the stringers go. Those are to be riveted later. The next step, the manual has you cleco in the longerons and stringers with the flanges pointed to the center line. And then you notice where they go over these access panels, you're going to cut them off 1/4 inch from the end of each hole. So where you've got each hole on down there, down at the end you've got to do it. So every place you've got to cut them off 1/4 inch from the end of each hole. And then you cut the stringers, and I assume we're going to cleco them back and rivet, but right now they just have them cleco and cut off. Cutting the stringers and longerons, I'm just using my Dremel. I've got them marked. They tell you to mark 1/4 inch from the last hole, and they overlap the inspection door doublers. Same thing down here, 1/4 inch past the last hole. These longer ones you let go past the doubler up to this one. So it's just a matter of trimming pieces off and getting them lined up and re-clecoed. I'm going to throw out the first gotcha on this section. And I didn't see it in others' videos, and I'm struggling with my resolution. As you lay these stringers down, you have to cut out a section here to get through the inspection cover, and then you trim off the end here. As you cut this section here, you end up with a small piece as a leftover, and then you trim the section here, you end up with another small piece as a leftover. But you need two pieces. You need one across here and one on this angle, because the manual's got you putting these two pieces in. Well, the way I've cut my stringers, they're all too short. This one will work, but then I don't have anything for the long one. What I should have done is when I cut for here, rather than cut the gap out of here, I should have cut the end and then move the stringer up and then just cut this end to here. Then I'd have a long enough piece because it would add this piece onto the end. Didn't see anything in the manual about it. Didn't see any other videos on it. So I've got some extra stringers, but I don't think they're extra stringers. I think I need them. But for now, I'm going to cut a piece of stringer from one of my, from the top part of the tail cone, and probably order another stringer from RANs. I'm sure I'm going to be one short. So just a little gotcha. The next step calls for flipping over the bottom skin, tail cone skin, and riveting your stringers and longerons. You've got to be careful because there's a lot of different rivets that are used, and there's areas that are specifically pointed out that you do not rivet. They've got a space here, they've got a space here that you do not rivet. And they do call for laying it onto 2 sawhorses. I guess to get access, right now I've laid it on 2 4x4s. I think I can rivet it. I don't have another 12-foot section to lay sawhorses out right now without doing some rearranging. So I'm going to see how far I can go on the 4x4s to see if that will work. I've left the clecos on the other side. They're sticking through. I've seen others re-cleco the whole skin from this side. I don't think that's necessary. I think I'll just put some strategic rivets in place and start riveting and holding things together. So be careful with rivets and start riveting. There's a lot to go. Okay, the riveting went pretty well. The 4x4s on the table are not going to work after the riveting because you've got to get these bulkheads on upside down, hanging down from the skin. So the 4x4 is not going to give you enough room. My daughter's got my sawhorses, but hey, where there's a will, there's a way. I moved my table over, made some room for the Tailcone in here. And the only thing to be careful is these flanges need to be bent to about 97 degrees, and they're a little overbent from the jig. So you got to tweak them just a little bit to get them to about 97 degrees. And then they just cleco on, starting station 10, moving right up, flanges facing forward, and just cleco them on, and then we're going to rivet them. Okay, I've got the bulkheads riveted onto the bottom skin. They're hanging down with the flanges all pointing forward. I get to the back, and this station 11 is the last one. In the manual prior, they give you pages about putting all the other bulkheads together, and the manual mentions assembling them, but they don't really mention station 11. Station 11 is this doubler, and it's the last one on the Tailcone. In the manual, they do show station 11 right here with a doubler on it. They've got 2 rivets coming in, 43s, the cherry 43s. I'm assuming we're going to go all the way around with the 43s and leave this top row unriveted and attach it to the Tailcone. Not 100% clear. It doesn't say not to do it. And the videos that I've watched, everyone seems to have attached it. So if I find that's wrong, I'll put some comments in here. But that's what we're going to do. Okay, 2 gotchas. I'm making mistakes. I'm going to tell you about my mistakes, so hopefully future builders won't make them. Number 7 in the text says, rivet the inspection cover tab rings to the upper side of the Tailcone skin. So this is where you've got your skin laid out and your riveting parts. In the diagram, these are your your inspection tab rings here. What they don't mention is that there are some nut plates. It is in the diagram, and once again, you got to look at your diagrams carefully and not just follow the text. I assumed that they would mention the nut plates later, but you got to get these nut plates riveted onto your tab rings before you install them onto your tail skin. The other little gotcha is in this diagram, they tell you for tail draggers, don't rivet this last row of rivets because you'll be attaching a cable pulley to it. They didn't mention to not rivet these rivets, these 4, which are right here. And there's actually a part, if you go to this little thing down here for tail draggers only, can't really see what's going on unless you blow it up on your computer. And let's see if this will work. But when you blow it up on your computer, you notice you've got these, what are they called? Cable pulley mounts that have to get put right in here, and they go right into those holes using a different rivet than what the skin riveting is. So no big deal. I'm going to pull the rivets out and put them in. But if you're moving along, look at your diagrams. I've been accused of going too fast, but they're going to have the S26 out by the time I finish this if I go any slower. So I just missed it in the diagram. I was following the text just step by step, but you've got to look at your diagrams, and if you see a number 29, it's not mentioned in the text, and it's not in the text anywhere. It's only in the diagram. So if you see a 29 and it's not mentioned anywhere, figure out when and where you're going to put it in. I did get all the bulkheads attached. I clecoed and then riveted the bulkheads in place. including these back rear bulkheads. The nut plates, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the nut plates, there was no specific instructions to put them in. I put them in just now. They went in fine with riveting. I've seen some builders put them in prior to installing the doublers on. These are just stringers here. But the nut plates went in easy as it was sitting upside down here. The next step is to lay out your side skins, and they tell you to lay them out in mirror image. Because one's going to go in each side, one's going to be facing out, so I am going to take the lettering off. I use acetone. I've seen others use some other chemicals to get the lettering off because it's going to be on the outside, and before painting that's got to come off anyways. So the next step is to clean up and then get the stringers attached to these side skins. As you lay out your skins and stringers, you've got to think about which way things go because you've got to remember your tail cone is upside down. So one of your skins at the end has a 90-degree angle to it and the other maybe an 80-degree angle. The side that has the 90-degree angle is the upper side of the tail cone, which when your skin is laying upside down is going to be the lower side as you attach it. And the stringer, the flange portion, the flange sticks out, is supposed to be the top. But again, when you put it on your tail cone, it's upside down, so it's going to be the bottom. I guess what I'm saying is just make sure you get your orientation straight before you rivet your stringers and then go to attach them onto your tail cone. After you get the stringer riveted to the side skin, you flip the side skin over and cleco it to your tail cone, and then you've got a series of different rivets to rivet the side skin to the tail cone and the bulkheads. I did make a mistake installing this side panel. After I put the stringer on, somehow I missed attaching the longeron to the side of it. I was able to slide it in because I had not riveted the top row of rivets, knowing that I was going to need to attach the top skin to it. But you do need to attach the longeron to the side skin prior to attaching it to the tail cone section. I've attached the left cone skin, tail cone skin, riveted using different rivets. You got the Avex for the stringer, 41s for the bottom part. The top longeron is not riveted. That's to be done later when you attach the top skin. Before I do the top, for the tail dragger, there's a couple brackets. They're pulley brackets that go in against station number 9 here. The only thing you get is a very small imprint of a diagram on one of your parts pages. And I found you had to get this onto the computer and blow it up to make any sense of it. But it simply's got a couple rivets that go through the bottom skin, and then you've got a match drill through this bottom of the Station 9. So we'll get that done. Doesn't look too complicated, just some rivets and some brackets. The tail wheel pulley mounts are riveted in. I would recommend riveting those to bulkhead Station 9 prior to your skin assembly. After you get in there and you've got to get these rivets in from behind, it's almost impossible. So they should have been riveted prior to putting them onto the tail cone assembly. But they're in and ready to go. The side skins are mounted and riveted, other than there's no rivets between stations 3 and 4. This is left open for the attachment of the cage. Stringers are in, longerons are riveted. And at this point, the manual does have you put the stringers together on your top skins, even though you don't put your top skins on until after the cage is assembled. But I'm going to follow the manual and at least get the stringers cut and mounted. There's some cutting to do. And remember, I had that short stringer from having to put these tail angles in. Well, it looks like it's going to work out because you do have to cut. Where's my picture here? You do have to cut the stringers. Here we go. into some short sections, so I think I can use this short stringer and maybe don't have to order another one from RANs. So I'm going to get this top skin done, and then the next step in the manual is to attach the cage to the tail cone, which is exciting, but I'm going to get these top skin stringers done first. Okay, I think this is a good place to end the video right now. That segment of build took me 36 hours. That takes my build time to 453 if I do my math right, 453 hours up to now. Nothing specific in that segment that was difficult. A couple little gotchas that I worked through, nothing serious. And we'll keep building along, and I hope you stay with me. Thanks for watching. Remember, dream it, just build it.